If you want to build a personal brand that gets millions of followers and makes you real money, you need to master the psychology of creating content. Look, I'm a millionaire copywriter. I have directly coached personalities behind brands, and I've learned that the top 1% of personal brands all follow a few key principles that make them impossible to ignore. So these are the 6 principles that'll help you build a personal brand so strong and stand out in any industry. First, we're starting with why most people stay invisible even when they say they want views. Their fear of being seen. Here's why most people stay broke with their personal brands. They're pretending they want to be visible while actively making up reasons to hide. They believe in stuff like, I don't look right for the camera, the market's too crowded, or as one subscriber recently said to me, Joe, I don't have charisma, so I can't build a personal brand. But here's the thing, none of it is real, none of it matters because the most famous people don't think they're good enough either, but they do it anyway. For example, Beyoncé, she's told us she doesn't walk on stage as herself, she becomes Sasha Fierce. Most people think that means she's naturally confident and you're not, but here's the truth. She created a character she could step into because performing as herself just felt too exposed. Seeing yourself as someone who doesn't possess the traits necessary to succeed is honestly just a comfortable lie that you are telling yourself. That's the fundamental attribution error at work. Explaining your struggles as permanent character traits instead of recognizing you just haven't practiced enough. Your brain is constantly weaving stories, trying to make sense of everything, but it is also lazy and prone to making terrible judgments. Like your grandmother looking at your career success and saying, well, of course you're successful. You were able to read at an 8th grade level when you were 4. What does early reading have to do with becoming a successful lawyer now? Nothing, actually, but her brain connected the dots. Find your version of Sasha Fierce. Create an alter ego that you step into when you're on camera or when you're on stage. I mean, it doesn't need a name. A name just gives you permission to show up a little bit differently. Then join communities where people are already visible. Listen to their stories. Let your brain weave a new narrative where being seen is normal, it's not terrifying. That shift in the story breaks the hiding cycle. To up-level your game. Next up, number 2, find your superpower. The mistake that keeps personal brands generic is trying to be about everything instead of owning one specific thing. Cody Sanchez didn't build a brand on investing. She built it by buying boring businesses to get rich the boring way. That's a red thread. That's a superpower. But most people insist on trying to hit every person at once, and as a result, they build a brand that doesn't have any cohesion. Worst of all, they build a brand that doesn't sell. Having a superpower is the only way to sell. Cody can build coaching programs around that one concept, events around it, and even her book, Main Street Millionaire, around it. But remember, a superpower has to be something specific and unique. A lot of people might have, rags to riches story. That doesn't mean you can build personal brand on that. This same idea applies to where you choose to show up online. So great personal brands don't actually try to be everywhere. They choose 1 or 2 channels and become unmissable there. If you're unclear about what you're doing on YouTube, but you know what you're doing on LinkedIn, focus on LinkedIn. When you know your value proposition for your message in a channel, you belong there and you can provide real value there. Now, the best framework to identify your superpower is to basically position your spider bite. That is your method or your thinking. For example, your spider bite is how you got your superpower, like Ali Abdaal going from med student at Oxford to productivity influencer. Your method is how you produce your work, like getting up at 3 a.m. every single day. Your thinking is your unique approach to systems or frameworks. Then name it. Dan Martell has the Martell method. I have the Weeb way. Give it a name and people can finally refer to what you do specifically. That's when your personal brand becomes sticky and memorable. This brings us to principle 3. Build a tribe through shared language. Here's what everyone misses. People are so hungry for belonging that they will study your rituals to become more like you. I was at an Alex Hormozy event a couple years back, and there was this dude walking around. It wasn't Alex Hormozy. He was walking around with the breathe right strip on his nose. And I was like, oh my gosh, you were completely costuming yourself like this person you look up to. Alex Hormozy is the template for who you want to be. And now you're studying him to become more like him. Completely normal. And it's also not an isolated case. There was a study, a 1987 study found tribes form around what's basically a prototype leader. So these are people who seem like ideal members of the group. The prototype is basically a template for how everybody else should behave. That's why so many people have day-in-the-life videos right now to set the template. So if anyone follows this person and they want to be like them, have the success they have, now they know exactly what to do in the day. If you have a personal brand, you are the prototype. That means people are looking to you for how to behave like you, what to value, and even how to structure their days. This is where shared language becomes really, really powerful. When you use specific terms like stuck in the gap, you're creating ally signals. People who get it, recognize each other, and feel part of something bigger than themselves. So develop shared identity markers. Create specific language that your tribe uses, like values they connect with, rituals you demonstrate that your followers can tap into, and then start doing those as well. Share your rituals, whether it's getting up at 3 a.m. or 9 a.m., or how you structure your work sessions. People are interested in being part of a tribe and having somebody they can follow, and these details give them a really tangible template. Now, the next principle completely changed my content strategy. Move from trade school to church. Gary Vaynerchuk was, in my opinion, slightly boring when he gave wine facts. I mean, who cared about Gary Vee and wine? But he became massive when he shifted to stories and parables about what he and his audience go through and how they think. Most people think how-to content builds audiences, but here's the truth. People can get how-to content anywhere. What they can't get is help interpreting their world. That's the difference between trade schools and churches. Trade schools teach you how to do something. That's work. Churches teach you how to think. That's transformation. You learn processes at trade school. You learn interpretation at church. Stories, parables, frameworks, not instruction manuals. This is why the best way to make people follow you is to position yourself as basically a translator of hidden truths. So Andrew Huberman does this brilliantly. He translates what PhDs know into what everyone can know. He's taking the human brain and how our bodies work and making it accessible to us. When you help people interpret their world, instead of just like teaching them processes, you're building something much deeper. You're not just giving them information, you're giving them a framework for understanding every single thing that they encounter. Now, if this is something you find interesting, you might be a really great fit for authority figures, where creators and entrepreneurs become a top 1% authority in their category. There's a link in the description. Finish watching this video and then check it out. Tell stories rather than sharing facts. Stop doing how-to content exclusively. Yes, part of what you offer might be here's how to sit down and prepare appropriately, but a bigger part should be to help me understand and interpret this world. Share failures as you go, too. People love stories of success, but they also then love failure. There's this old saying, people like to create kings not to worship them, but to watch them fall. So share your struggles along the way. It makes you relatable and harder to knock down later. Now on to principle number 5. Negativity gets clicks, but purpose gets cash. If you want to understand human motivation, you need to take a look at this study. It identifies 6 core motivation systems: seeking, fear, rage, care, play, and sadness. Cool, here's the twist. These motivators are not all equal. While negative feelings like fear, rage, and sadness can get people to click on all sorts of videos, when it comes to taking action, people are actually more likely to open their wallets when they're in a positive state. That's why the best advertisers on media outlets that prioritize rage bait are selling $20 pillows and cheap things, not expensive things. When your audience sits stewing in a state of fear or rage, They don't want to buy, but when you inspire people to feel things like curiosity or playfulness, positive emotions, they invest more. So the lesson here is to inspire people to feel something good. We want to be able to reinforce our values, the values that we have in our messaging, in our personal brand, to the point that it feels like you're basically tapping into a deeper purpose in your followers. When I work with brands, one of the early things that I do is ask who they're an advocate for, and that can give the whole brand a deeper purpose. For example, if Wistia is an advocate for independent filmmakers or video content creators, then they're tapping into a much deeper purpose as a brand. So stop watering down your message. Say things that make people feel something real. Reinforce your values until it feels like you're tapping into a deeper purpose. Ask yourself, who am I an advocate for? And answer that clearly. Your brand will gain a deeper purpose that goes beyond features, credentials, or results. You become someone worth following into the dark. And lastly, number 6, packaging isn't just decoration. It's actually clarity. Think about tomato soup. If you put tomato soup in a plain tin can with a yellow label in the no-name area of the store, you're dealing with a 59-cent product. If you put the same soup in a small cardboard box with like a French name on it, now it's a bisque. Put it in a mason jar with craft paper and like a hand-drawn label of someone's grandma on the front, and now it's handcrafted tomato soup. Packaging is the signal of what to expect from a product, what it's worth, and it's an identifier. So every time I go back to the store, I don't even have to know the name necessarily. I can just say, get the French tomato bisque. It's in this cardboard box. You'll see it, you'll know it. A lot of people think their personal brand packaging is just like, whatever I wear, however I look, but it's not optional. You don't want to accidentally find yourself thinking you're a bisque and ending up in a yellow labeled 59-cent can of tomato soup. This is about signal clarity. Packaging helps people feel grounded, like they know and they trust and they like you. It tells the audience what to expect from your product and what it's worth and how to bucket you, how to categorize you. Do I take you seriously, or is this like a light and easy thing? That's determined by your packaging. What do you wear? Do you wear glasses? What style? Have you been intentional about those? Do you have a distinctive hairstyle? Is there something about the industry you're in that you could really make your own? So be intentional with your physical identifiers, your style of glasses, your hair, a red blazer like I wear in videos, even something like a bright blue apron if you're gardening. These signals help people recognize and trust you pretty instantly. And this becomes part of that prototype template we talked about earlier. When people see your packaging, they could put that on and feel like you. It creates belonging and recognition, and that's what separates memorable brands from forgettable ones. Now you know the 6 principles that separate personal brands that make money from personal brands that just make noise. But none of them work unless you master the exact words that make people listen, trust you, and say yes. So click the next video and I'll show you the 5 techniques the top 1% use to articulate their words with power, respect, and leverage.